The rancher wiped the sweat from his brow, the late afternoon sun beating hard against his back as he finished tying off the last bundle of hay. It had been another long day, the kind of day he was used to now. His life had fallen into a rhythm of endless work, mending fences, feeding cattle, and keeping his little girl safe in a world that felt too big and empty without her mother. He had built a wall around his heart, not to keep others out, but to keep his pain in. He thought he had buried it deep enough, until the sound of small feet running across the barn floor broke through the silence. "Papa," his daughter called, her little voice bubbling with something unusual, excitement. He turned, wiping his hands on his jeans, ready to kneel and scoop her up. But then he saw she wasn't alone. A young woman stood just behind her, a little breathless, her hands knotted together in front of her. Her dress was travel-worn, dust from the long dirt road still clinging to its hem. Her face held uncertainty, as though she hadn't expected to be welcomed anywhere, least of all here. Yet his daughter clung to her as though she had known her forever. "Papa," the little girl whispered, her eyes wide and shining, "she smells like Mama." The rancher froze, his chest tightening with an ache he thought he'd learned to live with. For years, no one had dared speak of his late wife in such a way, not even him. It had always been too hard, too sharp, like touching a wound that never fully healed. But here was his child, arms wrapped tight around a stranger's waist, speaking with the kind of certainty only a child could have. The woman knelt slightly, her hand brushing the little girl's curls back from her face. The tenderness in the simple motion made something stir inside him, something he had pushed away for too long. "Sweetheart," the woman said softly, her voice low and soothing, "I didn't mean to bother you or your father. I was just passing through." She looked up then, her eyes meeting his, and he saw a flicker of nervousness in them, nervousness and something else he couldn't name. The rancher cleared his throat, his voice rough from disuse. "You're far from town. Not many come down this road unless they're lost." "I suppose I am lost," she admitted, giving a small smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "I was looking for work. I thought maybe someone might need an extra pair of hands." She glanced at his rough palms, the barn half mended, the scattered tools, as if she could already see how much work this ranch demanded. Before he could answer, his little girl piped up again. "Can she stay, Papa? Please. She's nice. I like her." He looked at his daughter, the pleading in her eyes cutting through him. He had spent so long trying to give her everything she needed, but there were things he could never give back. Soft words at bedtime, the smell of bread baking in the oven, arms that cradled instead of worked. His daughter had lived without those things for too long, and here she was, clinging to the first woman who had crossed their path in years. The woman stood slowly, brushing dust from her skirt. She seemed ready to leave, as though she had already decided he wouldn't want her here. "I understand if you don't need anyone," she said, her voice quiet. "I don't want to cause trouble. I just—" Her words trailed off, and for a moment she looked so weary, so fragile, he wanted to step forward, to steady her. He didn't move. He didn't trust himself to. "You said you're looking for work?" he finally asked. His voice was steady now, though inside, he felt anything but calm. She nodded. "I can cook, clean. I've done laundry for ranch families before. I know my way around animals some, too. I'm not afraid of hard work." The little girl's hands tugged insistently at his. "Please, Papa," she whispered again, and her voice carried the weight of a child's loneliness. The rancher exhaled slowly, studying the woman in front of him. He could see the tired lines etched into her face, the strength hidden beneath them. She wasn't just a wanderer looking for charity, she was someone who had fought to survive, someone who carried her own share of burdens. For a moment, he wondered what roads had brought her here, to this forgotten corner of land and to his barn. The silence stretched, filled only by the sound of cattle shifting in the nearby pasture and the rustle of hay in the loft above. The woman shifted uneasily, as though she expected him to turn her away any second. Finally, he spoke. "This place, it's not easy. Work starts before the sun comes up, and it doesn't end until long after it goes down. If you're serious about helping, there's no shortage of things to be done." Her eyes lifted, and this time he saw a spark in them, faint but alive. "I'm serious." Something loosened in his chest, though he didn't dare name what it was. He nodded once, firm. Then you can stay, for now. The little girl squealed with joy, wrapping her small arms tighter around the woman's leg. The sound was so pure, so bright, that for the first time in years, the barn didn't feel so empty. The rancher turned away quickly, busying himself with the saddle strap again, hiding the way his throat had tightened. He told himself it was just practical, another pair of hands to lighten the load. Nothing more. Yet deep down, as he listened to his daughter's laughter echo off the barn walls, he knew the truth. This woman wasn't just another hand. She had stepped into his life like a quiet storm, and though he didn't understand it yet, he knew one thing with absolute certainty. He couldn't let her go.